All right, all right. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Awaken the Guardian. Today's topic, married to a cop. And you're wondering who that was giggling in the background? Well, let me introduce you to the lovely Melissa. Yes, this is my wife. Say hi to the folks out there today.
Hey guys.
That's all you got for them.
That's short and sweet.
So the reason she's laughing is because this is the second intro that I do. The first intro sounded really cool, and then I realized that I wasn't actually recording it. See, because what you don't realize is not only do I audio record these podcasts, but I video record them too. So they are available on YouTube for you to watch, for you to watch for your viewing pleasure. But back to the main topic. The reason that I wanted my wife to be here, and actually the reason that she wanted to be here, is because you guys hear me talk every single day about my perspective on things. You hear me talk about what life is like through my eyes, right? But there's two sides to this. There's two halves to this. You've heard my half, and it's time to hear my wife's. And so she's going to be real with you guys. She's going to be raw, and she's going to call it like it is. And honestly, that's what makes the relationship work right now, is being brutally honest with each other. So sit back, relax, and off we go. So I kind of want to talk a little bit, this is the funny part, right? How it was that we met. So why don't you give them the quick synopsis of how we met.
Yeah, that's a bad one. So in high school, I was a junior, he was a senior. We were in a government class and we were on our way from Nogales to Phoenix for a state competition. And it was super early and we stopped to have breakfast. And Mr. Rico Suave over here.
Choo choo.
Yeah. So I'm sitting down eating breakfast with my friends and I literally have the fork up to my mouth and I'm about to actually eat my breakfast. And he comes from behind me and whacks the food out of my hand. So naturally, what do all girls do? Turn around, give him this look from hell, and he's gone. And it progressed, and that afternoon, we actually won the competition. I turn around, and he's like hugging me, squishing me, all excited because we're off to nationals from that point. It gets even better on the bus, where he decides to sit next to me, chases my friend away, and at some point during the 3-hour drive, this guy thinks he's all cool, talking to me about the full moon and whatnot, and all of a sudden, he puts his head on my lap. The teacher is overly concerned and is staring at us the entire way back to make sure nothing was happening.
Inappropriate happened.
Oh.
So the funny part of this whole thing, if you can tell, is I've got all the moves. I am smooth, a smooth operator. Yeah, right. So the truth is, I had no idea how to flirt with a woman, like zero. So
And I had a boyfriend and he wouldn't go away.
what I do have is stubbornness and tenacity. So that was the only thing I had going for me at that point. And long story short, I managed to, I think, bother her into going out with me. I magically appeared at her classes before the bell rang. And I'd like to think that she saw something in me. But frankly, those first 6 months were kind of dicey. I think she just kind of was either freaked out by me or scared of me. So she decided that she would go
Oh,
out
you
with
just
me.
weren't my type.
I wasn't her type. There you go. And somehow we magically ended up together. But here's the thing. So we ended up dating, and we got married. And you've heard me talk about this before. Is you get married and like there was no like manual on what it was like to be married. So I'm gonna ask you like, what was it like to be married to me in those like, let's just say the first year of marriage? What was that like? Because I wasn't a cop at that point. So what was it like?
Well, I would say you were a butt.
And by butt she means asshole.
No, you weren't quite there yet.
Okay.
It was a weird first year because I got pregnant right away. And that was a surprise. And my brother was also living with us too. So it was more like a let's gang up on someone. So either my brother and I ganged up on you, or you two would gang up on me. And you know what? I think we were just too busy trying to figure out where we were both going, career-wise and everything.
I think that's pretty accurate. So, like, we got married and she was still finishing up her degree. She was much closer than I was. And we got married and her brother ended up moving in with us. We moved to Phoenix, the Phoenix area. And we started off life. And I was going to school and she was going to school. And then all of a sudden, unplanned of course, how it always happens, she ends up pregnant. And so now, instead of trying to figure out how to live with someone else, now we're trying to figure out how to live with someone else. Oh, and by the way, how to be parents. So what was that like?
That's where it got really hard because at that point I had graduated and I was a teacher, and we all know how much teachers make.
Not a lot, or I should say, not enough.
Yeah. So, first year teacher, I don't even think I was making like $35,000 at that point. So, trying to put him through school, realizing we did not want to live in an apartment with our first kid, or with any of our kids, and it was just a lot of pressure at that moment.
So we literally like hit the gas pedal, and we went from living in an apartment, 2 college students, to what?
A house, and you were a horrible bill payer, money manager, everything. So we bought the house and I told him what my dream car was and he came home with it. And the best part is that it was not for me. He traded my truck in to buy himself my dream truck.
And what did I buy you?
A piece of crap red Camry that had roll down
Cavalier.
windows.
It wasn't even a Camry.
Oh yeah.
It was a red Chevy Cavalier. Now, mind you, not only was it a Chevy Cavalier, but her like least favorite color
It's red.
is red.
I hate red cars.
Yeah. So yes, at this point I started to turn into the asshole. Congratulations. Hey, I love you. Here's a new car. By the way, I'm going to drive the truck. You drive this shitty car, and it's red. Just to remind you how much I love you. So at that point, our
Graduated.
first son comes along. You've graduated. We've got our house. We're kind of meandering our way through life, and what's going on?
I would say that's when you began chit-chatting with other girls online too. And you would totally deny the whole thing.
So I basically, because I had no idea what I was doing, I had no idea who I was, I had no idea on purpose and direction in life, I decided that I was just going to do whatever the hell it was that I wanted to do, which included talking with other women online. Now, mind you, this does nothing to build a relationship. Like, nothing. Your attention can't be in 2 different places. And so, by me taking those steps, what was happening to our relationship already?
There was zero trust. Zero trust. And then, as I'm pregnant, I started to gain a crap load of weight. And I wouldn't say that whatever. You're not very fond of very overweight women.
So my wife is being very nice right now. What she's saying is she wasn't attractive, and I let her know that. I didn't say you are fat, but I would make little comments that would degrade the way that she looked. Now, mind you, this wasn't something that she purposely did. She didn't purposely say, I'm going to eat unhealthy and get fat. She got pregnant. And I was the other half of that equation. So during this period in our life, I'm still not a police officer. I am still just a guy. And I'm already starting to make these decisions, these choices that are going to lead me down this path of destruction. So after this, or I should say, while this is happening, 9/11 happens, right? And so I decide that I want to be a police officer. And so I start down that road. Now, what was that like for you when I started the academy, when I was going through the academy?
At that point, I really didn't mind because we had already had our first son, and I'm like, great, so now I get to stay home and take care of the baby while you actually have a real job.
And so what did you notice that was changing about me as I started to spend more time in the police academy and around police officers?
When they say you totally change as a police officer, you really do. Like, people at church, people in the neighborhood, they started avoiding him. He wasn't approachable anymore, and he was just more of a butthole at home. Like, his patience and everything, especially as once he hit the streets, everything was just 100% different.
So what did that start to do to our relationship? So it's already lacking in the trust category, but what did it do that now I'm starting to act like a cop? Like, I'm starting to distrust everyone. I'm starting to change my tone of voice. I'm starting to try and tell you everything that it is that you should do.
I don't take well to directions, so it would cause a lot of friction at home because I'm very stubborn, so I do not like people telling me what to do, especially someone that is supposed to be on my side.
So listen to what she just said. Like, someone that is supposed to be on my side. When we got married, right, we took this vow to be with each other, to help each other, to support each other. You guys know what it's like. Till death do us part, or for eternity, or however it is that you choose when you get married. And that means to support each other. And so during this time, I'm really not supporting her in any way, shape, or form. Like, maybe financially, but really, like, that's about it. And let's be honest, for you women out there, do you really care? If I'm a raging asshole, do you really care about the money?
No.
No. It wasn't my answer, that was hers. So I'm going through this change where I'm not changing as a man, I'm just becoming more of the negative parts of what I already was. Right? So before I was a butt, and now I'm an asshole, full-fledged asshole. And she laughs at that, but is that true, yes or no?
Oh, yeah.
So I start to go down this path that we learn as police officers, which is you don't trust anybody, which is you always try and look for threats, which is you're always on hypervigilance. Like, what was that doing to our relationship with each other?
Well, it was even pissing me off because I couldn't even go to a mall and come out and not find either you waiting for me to come out and make sure I was okay, or like, it sounds like it's very sweet. Oh, he's just making sure that you're okay in a rough area, but I don't know, it felt completely different. Like, he always had to know where and what I was doing. It's kind of controlling in a sense.
Just kind of, huh?
Well, because I wouldn't tell you where I was going.
So what it started to create, and what she's saying is it started to create this friction, right? Because at work, and you police officers know this, you're taught to control all your situations. You're taught to be the one that determines who moves where, when they move, what they do, because you're taught that this keeps you safe, right? And so I would come home and I would ask my wife, where are you going? Well, I'm going to the mall. Okay, well, which stores are you going to? Well, who are you going with? Well, when are you going to be back? And on and on and on and on. So I've already built this wall between us of distrust, right, by my own actions. And now I'm building the wall even higher because of my inability to trust her and her actions, which makes absolutely zero sense. But in my eyes then, I thought that I was doing what I needed to do. I thought that I was doing the right thing. So by trying to control you and by trying to tell you what to do, what was that doing to our relationship?
It was making it harder, frustrating. There was more distrust. And at that point, I had to go back to work just to keep myself sane because I did not want to be at home with you.
Right. So think about this, you police officers that are out there, and even the men out here are out there that are not police officers. Like, think about this. Think about this pattern, and I can identify it because it's a pattern that they taught us, but I want you guys to think about if this pattern applies in your life. Ask, tell, make. So I would ask my wife to do something, she didn't want to, then I would tell her to do it, and she wouldn't, and then I would try and make her do it. Now, this pattern served me as a police officer. It kept me safe. It kept me in control. It helped me identify what was a threat and what wasn't a threat. But at home, when I tried to use this pattern on you and on the children, like, what would that actually do to you?
It's more of a screw you because I'm not going to do it. And I wouldn't.
Why did you not want to do it?
Because no one's going to force me to do something I don't want to do.
So when I was asking you or telling you or trying to make you do something, like, what was my motivation? Was there any love? Was there any...
No, it's just to win.
It was just... Whew, think about that. Think about that. It was just to win. It was just so I could wear the badge on my chest saying that I am the man of this house. I'm going to win. So I'm sitting here trying to win in life and win in our relationship. But what's that actually doing to us? What are you feeling right now?
There is a lot of resentment. That's pretty much what it was. It was just a lot of resentment.
And so, like, how was that, my attitude, affecting the children?
Well, because they were so young, I would honestly say you had no relationship with our kids. It was a quick, oh, daddy's home. Let's all run to daddy, play for a good 10, 15 minutes, and that was it.
So my pattern of disconnecting at work that I thought was keeping me safe, which at work was, at home trying to duplicate this pattern of disconnection, was actually causing strain in the relationship. And my wife is right. Like, I went through a period of time where I didn't really have a relationship with my children. And my relationship with her was about dominating her. It was about winning. Like, at work, somebody takes off from you, or you find some dope, or whatever else happens, like, afterwards, it's fist bumps and high fives, right? Because you won. Well, you can't bring that pattern home because there is no winning. So cool. You tell your wife to do something, you yell at her and scream at her, and she finally does it. Who are you going to fist bump? Who are you going to high five? Yourself? But that was the pattern that I was living. So I went through this period of time where things got worse. And I remember you telling me something about, like, every time I came home, the kids didn't know if I was going to be what?
If you were going to be happy or mad. And they approached him very carefully. They would kind of test the waters before. to see what his mood was.
All right, you got to be a little more honest, because you've said this before. Like, really, they were what?
Well, they were scared of you.
So, think about that for a minute. You're married, you have children for a reason, right? To build a family, to build a legacy. But at this point in my life, I wasn't building a legacy, I was destroying everything that I had created. So much so that when my kids saw me when I got home, they were literally scared of me. They were timid. They didn't know which dad was going to show up. Was it the happy dad that wanted to play with them? Or was it the a-hole dad who was just going to rage, slam some doors, and go sit down in front of the TV and watch ESPN?
Yep.
So while this is going on, and I continue down this path, like, what are you thinking? Like, what are you thinking that's going on in my head? What are you thinking that is wrong with me?
I think you were just there at the house out of responsibility, not because you wanted to. 'Cause
How?
you weren't going, like, church was like a joke. Playing with the kids was a joke. You were doing so much overtime. Like, I did everything.
So I had consumed myself, consumed my life with police work, with working overtime and working extra shifts. How many, like, birthdays and holidays and whatnot did I miss? Did I blame on work?
And that's the funny thing, that he honestly thinks he was there for all these parties. I'm like, you weren't there for like almost any of them. Maybe you were there for like the first 10, 15 minutes and you were gone. Whether you were really called out or not, I don't know.
So I was playing this game of, like, I'm super dad, right? I'm actually there when I'm not there. And then it would be like, the times that I wasn't there, I'd be like, oh, well, I gotta work. Which sometimes was the case, but sometimes it was just me running away. Me running away from the fact that I didn't know how to fix my life. I didn't know how to communicate with my wife. I didn't know how to have a relationship with my kids. Like, you heard my wife say it, like, I didn't even know who God was anymore, because I completely eliminated him from my life. Like, what was it like going to church with me?
I hated going to church with you.
Why?
So at that point, you were undercover. Your hair was long, like down to your shoulders, goatee. So when you actually did show up, people would walk around like the long way around you.
Like, what kind of look did I have on my face?
You were like a pissed off, stay away from me kind of look. But for years, everyone thought I was single to begin with.
Think about that. Like, here I am, putting on this face of I'm a God-fearing man, I believe in God, and I pray, and I go to church, and whatnot. And the truth was that even when I would go to church, which was very few and far between, I would sit in the back row with my arms crossed, mad dogging and mean mugging everybody. And then I would get home and I would ask my wife, I'd be like, hey, how come nobody wants to hang out with us? How come nobody wants to come over? And what was your response?
Because they're scared of you.
Like, I had created an alternative or an alternate persona. So I had become this undercover, plainclothes, gang detective, whatever the period of time was. It was an extended period of time doing all these roles. But I filled this role that I thought that I needed to be. And again, at work it served me. It really did. But at home, like, things just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. So when I'm sitting here completely enveloped in myself and completely ignoring you and the kids, like, how is that making you feel?
I didn't count on you for anything. Other than your paycheck, I didn't count on you for anything. I vacationed by myself. I took care of the kids by myself. I did everything. I fixed stuff around the house. I pretty much did everything.
So me building up this wall between us and me becoming this alternate persona, like, how hard was it to even have any like intimate feelings for me?
Well, I didn't even want to touch you.
And mind you, she didn't want to touch me, but at the same time, I'm feeling like she's obligated to. I'm feeling like she's obligated to have sex with me. Why? Because I'm the man, right? I'm this big badass, undercover, big bushy beard, long hair. Like I do all these drug deals and everything, and I'm super bad. And she could care less. And because she could care less, what would that do for me? That would make me pissed off, and that would make me angry. Why does she not like me? Why does she not want to have sex with me? Why does she not want to spend time with me? See, what had happened is I'd spent so much time withdrawing from this bank account of our relationship that it had been in the negative 4 years. 4 years. And I expected that every now and then, I could buy her some flowers, and that would fix everything. So what was that like me who you now, I'm putting words in your mouth, but you can correct me if I'm wrong, but now that you really didn't really find attractive, that you're living with, that is this alternate person that isn't the man that you married or that you thought you married, like what is that doing to you right now?
I wouldn't. At that point, I just said it's me or nothing. I do everything for myself, for the kids, but there was no you. Absolutely not.
Were you dependent on me for anything?
I had my job, and I make fun of him all the time. Like, I always had more money before he came along, and like, he sucked with money, so it would have been a lot easier financially if I was without him.
So I want you to see what's happened here. And mind you, we're condensing about 13 years of marriage at this point. We're condensing this down into, 20 minutes of conversation, 30 minutes of conversation. But what I want you to see is what my wife just said. I was better off without him. Like, what did I provide for her? Let's see.
Just a bigger house, and that was it.
A bigger house and children. That's about as far as I had gone into the relationship. Like, I wasn't supporting her dreams. I wasn't supporting her career. I wasn't supporting anything that she wanted, honestly, because I didn't care.
No, you caused more problems, more anxiety, more stress, more everything negative. That's pretty much what you did.
So I perpetuated the negative side of a relationship instead of the positive side. Like, how often would I tell you, like, I love you, or how often would I tell you, like, something that I appreciated about you?
Only when you wanted something.
Only when I wanted something. And what was it that I usually wanted?
When you wanted to mess around.
Mess around. She's still being nice. My filter's gone a long time ago. So it's really when I wanted to have sex. Like, I would be nice to her, right? I would try and seduce her. But really what I was doing, it's like pouring salt in a wound, right? I got this open wound and I'm like, here, have some more salt. Let me rub it in and see if that makes it better. But what was I doing?
Pushing further away.
I was pushing her further away. So you guys have heard my story already, right? And so I got to this point that I would blame her for everything that was going wrong in my life, when the fact was, I was the reason that everything was going wrong in my life. And so we hit this point where I had moved out, and I told her that I wanted a divorce, and she was like, fine with it. Because as you already heard her say, she'd already been living without me anyway. She already had financial stability in her job. She'd already been taking care of the kids.
I paid all the bills from my job.
She'd paid all the bill. So what was I contributing to this relationship? Anger, hurt, pain, mistrust. What else? There wasn't anything
No.
positive.
No.
And see, in my mind, I'm seeing as like, she's going to be worse off without me. And in her mind, she's like, I'm better off without him. And the truth was, yes, she was better off without me. Because I wasn't contributing to the relationship. Because I wasn't helping her grow. Because I wasn't connecting with the children. Like, I was literally like a cancer or a fungus that she had to get rid of. She didn't want to get rid of me. But she had to, because I was literally destroying her. And I was destroying the kids. So, talk to the police wives out there. Like, at this like lowest point of lows, like, why did you even give me a chance?
I had already spoken, like, for me, religion is like everything. And at that point, like, I had already spoken to the men in church, and they're like, no, it's considered abandonment. And I was speaking to one of the other women in church, and I think she's the one. She's like, she said, she told me about all the stuff that she went through, and I asked her, I'm like, would you ever take him back? Knowing XYZ that happened in your relationship, would you ever take him back? And she said, in a heartbeat. While she's sobbing because of all the horrible things that he did. Because of the kids. And because of what religion has taught us.
So you're struggling at this point right now because I'm gone, but I'm still kind of there. And then I tell you, like, I want to come back and work things out. Like, what's that like? Not just as a woman, right? But as the wife of a police officer. Like, knowing the stuff that I go through at work and that I don't understand or don't have a way to deal with, and bring that back home every single day. Like, what kind of a burden does that put on you?
It was worse at that point. Because you kept telling me I had to trust you. Even though I had already known that you had had an affair, and I could even pinpoint when it was by your behavior or lack of showing up around the house with the kids. And so, and then again with the no relationship with the kids, they didn't trust you at all. So everything had to be that I either did it correctly to your standards, or all hell was going to break loose. So
what's it like living with a man who's a literal ticking time bomb?
I get mad at myself thinking, why did I let you back?
Like, how much stress and pain was that causing you?
I have basically destroyed all those pictures from that time period that you came back till, I would say, is that 6, 7, 8 months, I pretty much destroyed all those pictures.
So even before then, like,
Like I don't even want to look at them.
what was it like? Like, what was it like living with me? Like, trying to hold on to any semblance of a relationship, knowing that there really wasn't anything there.
Like, I didn't want to do it, but I had to have faith that it would turn out better than it was before.
And so while I had given up on our relationship, I'd given up on pretty much everything, she continued to have faith. Which, faith, like, people tie faith to religion, and really faith is not a religious term. Well, faith is believing that things will get better, and therefore you take actions to make it that way. So my wife is continuing to try and build out of the rubble that I've destroyed, right? Our relationship that's completely in shambles and non-existent, she is trying to build. And she would try and build some blocks together, and I would come through and I would kick it over. And she would build blocks together and start to build a wall, and I would come through and knock it over. And like this process of over and over and over again. Like, men, what I want you to understand is what your actions are doing to your wives. Like, you, if you're not watching this on video, you can't see my wife right now and her emotion right now and what she's feeling. But I can tell you, like, sitting here in this room, like, that's what I'm feeling is her pain, is the pain that I caused through my actions. Like, listen, nothing that I was doing was contributing to our relationship at that time. Nothing. And so not only am I destroying our relationship, but I'm destroying her in the process. And I'm destroying the kids in the process.
Like, you would do things just to purposely break everything back down.
I would purposely break things down. So, men, I want you to consider in your lives right now, like, where is it that you're purposely breaking down your relationship, or even worse, breaking down your wife? Like, and you think that you're so smart that you can hide things. And mind you, I'm telling you this because I lived this. I've experienced this. I thought that I was the man who could hide things from her. I thought I was the man that was smarter than she was. When the truth is that the only reason we had a relationship was because of her. It wasn't because of me. And so you men who think that your lives aren't working right now because of your wife, because of your children, or because of someone or something else, I want you to consider that it's really because of you. And your inaction in one area and your action in another. So, back to us. So you decide, I'm going to give this guy a chance.
Well, it was that I went to, and that's when I went to Landmark, and because you gave me that final ultimatum, and I said, fine, I'm going to go to Landmark and figure out if I'm going to keep you or dump you. And I think after day one, I came back thrilled, and it all like pissed you off. And at the end of day 3, decided that I was gonna try, and fight for it a little bit longer.
So,
You pushed back even worse.
right. So what you guys are hearing is she's talking about Landmark, which is basically a company that we'll call it self-help. And she goes to this 3-day conference, and she comes back like on fire, like ready to fight for a relationship. And what was that? What was my reaction?
You were a total dick about it.
Do you recognize that pattern? So here I am telling her to give me another chance. Here I am telling her to let's work things out. We can make this work. And she starts working on it, and I immediately fold my arms, lean back in my chair, and I'm like, yeah, no. So how's that making you feel?
At that point, like, I really didn't give a crap about you. Like, I was just excited where I was, and I was just gonna keep going. And for a few weeks, I didn't give a crap what the hell you were doing at all in the house.
So she, in other words, starts working on herself and starts improving herself. And I am getting left in the dust because she's like, I'm going to go this direction with or without you.
And you would. We would have, the kids and I would sit in one room and we're having fun, we're laughing and playing, and we invite you, and you look down the hall, see what's going on, and you lock the door behind you when you move. If you wanted nothing to do with anyone.
So she's trying, like she's tried for our entire marriage, she's trying to get me to engage. She's trying to get me to change my patterns, but it's not happening. And finally, what point do we get to?
It was like the last day at Landmark where, you're supposed to bring someone in and kind of introduce them to the work, like what you're doing, what you learned, whatever. And he is throwing the biggest fit in the world. And I'm about to leave. And I come back in, because he's locked in the bedroom. And I come back in, and I tell him, you're going. And he's like, no, I'm not going. And then I left, and then I came back in again, and I literally, like, straddle him on the bed and hold him down like, you're freaking gonna go. So, and he's yelling at me, get off, and I'm like, no, not until you agree to go. So that goes on back and forth for a few minutes, and then he agrees to go.
Basically what it was an ultimatum. And the ultimatum was, you're going or we're done. And up until this point, even with me telling her to give me another chance, I'd still only been playing for myself. Because I didn't want to look bad, right? Because I didn't want to be the divorced cop with half a pension working until he was 70 years old just to make up the money he lost, and his pride and his ego, and on and on and on and on. Sound familiar? It should. Because it happens to so many of you. So my wife gives me this ultimatum, and finally she breaks through. Just a little bit. But she breaks through. So I go. And this starts this path of self-improvement, right? This opened me up to the idea of what my wife had been telling me for so many years. That she wasn't the problem, but I was. And what this started was the journey that I'm currently on right now. And so I discovered this warrior's way. And when I first talked to you about this, what was your reaction to it?
To warrior?
Yes.
At that point, I wasn't open to it, because I finally got you back to church. I finally got you to a point where you were actually, like, I guess, a normal guy at church and people were actually talking to. Like, people weren't scared of you. And then Garrett White's cussing his head off. So, while I was okay with a certain part of it, I did not like the overall vulgar message that came with it.
What was it about the message, though, that you did like?
I think once you take out all the bad words and all the penis talk, there's actually something there.
So I go to my first event. I come back. Like, what did you notice that had changed?
everything. You were like a completely different man.
Like in what aspects?
Like everything. Like you were trying to build a relationship with me. You were trying to build a relationship with the kids. You were at that point much better with money. Ellen's spending a lot of money on Mario. But
So she's saying it, but basically what it is I actually started to take action. Action on improving myself. Like recognizing, one, the truth and the facts of where it was that I was at. Like I had been exposed to the fact that the reason that things weren't working in my life was not because of my wife, not because of my children, not because of God, not because of a paycheck, not because of my body, but simply because of me. And that was hard. Especially for a man to admit that he is the source of all problems. But here's the cool thing. Like when you can admit that you're the source of the problem, guess what? You also become the source of the solution. Yep, that's right. So everything that you were causing to go wrong in your relationship, you are now in the same control to make it better. So let's fast forward, like, where was it like, or where's it at like now? So there's so many police officers out there, and there's so many police officers' wives out there that, and even regular men and women that deal with this same issue of a man being unwilling to admit that he is the source of his problem. So, like, what has that done for our relationship?
well, when I can literally walk into a room and say whatever the hell I want to say in whatever tone or language I choose to use. We can scream at each other at the top of our lungs and be done and not mad at each other 5 minutes later. It doesn't last days or months or whatever. It doesn't come back months later. It's just done. Whatever is said is just done. It's freeing. It's easy. There's no drama attached to it. There's just trust and ease that comes with it.
So, man, I want you to think what it would be like in your lives if you didn't have drama. Drama that we choose to create. Drama that we choose to perpetuate. Like, and my wife is right. Like, first of all, if you guys ever think that there will be a day in your life that you won't argue or disagree with your spouse, I'm sorry to break it to you, but maybe in fairyland that works, but in real life it doesn't happen. You're going to disagree. It's going to happen. And my wife is Latina, and she has a very strong personality, which I love, but she doesn't back down. And so when we argue now, though, we'll get it out, but it's always with a purpose. Like, we argue, and then there's always a solution at the end. Okay, so what is never going to happen again, or what are we going to change? This. 3, 2, 1, we're done. That's it. And you said, and she, I don't know if you caught it, she said it now, she mentioned at the beginning, the lack of trust, but what we have now is trust. Right? That ability to trust each other. And so what I'm here to tell you, and I hope that you've heard through her words, are that it is possible. It is possible to have a relationship of trust. It is possible to rise out of the darkness. It is possible to have a relationship again. But it's going to require work. Like, how many years of work have we been, well, I should say, have I been at this trying to get to where we're at today?
I'd say we're going on 4 years.
4 years. 4 years of work. Not on the weekends, not on Monday and Friday and every other holiday. No. Every single day. It requires work. But what I will tell you is it's worth it. It's worth it to have the relationship I have with my kids now. It's worth it to have the relationship that I have with my wife now. Like, it's all worth it. And so if you're struggling right now, the first thing you have to do is admit that you have a problem. Doesn't matter if it's alcohol, drugs, pornography. It doesn't matter what it is, but you have to admit you have a problem. Because until you admit you have a problem, you're never going to search for a solution. Right? It's like you got a broken down fence with a hole in it, and you keep wondering why it is that the livestock keep getting out and the predators keep getting in, so you paint the fence. Well, painting the fence isn't going to actually fix your problem. You have to actually repair the fence. Admit that the fence is broken and fix it. So, that being said, that is it for today's episode. I'm sure I'll have my wife back with any questions or concerns that you have. If you guys have any questions, feel free to email me, Gerritt, Gerritt, at warriorguardian.com. I would be more than happy to answer your questions. What I also want you to know is that we have something for you. It's called the Gap Map. If you go to awakentheguardian.com, you can download this Gap Map. And what that helps you do is it helps you expose yourself. Not in a bad way, but in a good way. Where is it that you're at right now? Where is it that you want to be? And what is in the way of you getting there? Like, once that becomes super clear, then there's only one thing left to do. And that's the work. So again, I thank you for being here. I thank you for listening. And please take these words that my wife has shared with you, her feelings, her emotions, and start to apply these things in your life. Because what you want is possible if you're willing to do the work. And as always, stay safe. We'll see